The member for Moncrieff has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Defence. Will the Minister update the House on steps the Morrison government is taking to safeguard Australia amid a deteriorating global security environment by working with strategic partners and allies? And is the Minister aware of any alternative approaches?
The Minister for Defence has the call.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I thank the honourable member for her question and acknowledge her own family's history and contribution to this country and to the security of this country, Mr Speaker. And the security of this country is more important than ever, given the dire situation as it unfolds in the Ukraine, as we're seeing in the Indo-Pacific, the build-up of missiles and nuclear weapons by the Chinese government. This is a very serious time, Mr Speaker, and we need to be in a position of strength as a country to work with our allies, to invest appropriately, to make sure that we can take the decisions that will allow us to keep our country safe, not only today, but into the decades ahead. Mr Speaker, this government announced the AUKUS agreement as a key part of the defence of our nation and a very important part of the deterrence of any aggressor who would seek to take action against Australia. Mr Speaker, the declaration is a clear one from our country, from the United Kingdom, from the United States, that we stand, that we stand as one against aggression and coercion. We don't believe that the alliance between China and Russia is in the world's best interests, and we will continue to take decisions and make investments, Mr Speaker, into our Australian Defence Force to keep us safe. Now, there are many people who opposed AUKUS, and I think it's important for people, and I'm asked about alternative approaches, to understand the difference between this side of the House that has built up the investment in defence after Labor cut it to the lowest level since 1938. And, Mr Speaker, we have invested in our relationship, so AUKUS is a result of that, Mr Speaker, designed specifically to keep our country safe. So if people are asking what would the other side of politics bring if they were elected at the next election, well, it's a fair question to ask, Mr Speaker. And if you want to know what an Albanese-backed government would do, Mr Speaker, after the next election, what would a Labor-Greens alliance do? It's an important question, Mr Speaker. It's an important question.
The Leader of the House will resume his seat. The Deputy Leader of the Opposition on a point of order.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The point of order is on the basis of relevance. Obviously, the assertion that's just been made there is not true and can't be relevant. But the only relevant answer to this question has got to be the failure of this government on submarines.
The Minister for Defence is being relevant to the question. The Minister for Defence has the call.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. So if you ask yourself, well, why in government last time did Labor rip money from the Australian Defence Force? Why did they take it away from our troops? Well, in part, Mr Speaker, it was because of the pressures that they put on themselves through the relationship with the Greens. And we know, Mr Speaker, at least the Greens are honest about taking money from defence before the election. Labor Party always does it after the election. I want to tell you before the election that they're no different to the coalition, that they'll just power on and keep support going. They never do it when they're in government. And, Mr Speaker, we know that the Greens announced recently that in relation to AUKUS, and this is their policy, the Greens have today announced that in the balance of power after the next election, that is their coalition, they will push to boldly reform our Defence Force to ensure a peace-focused approach is prioritised, reduce spending to 1% and to break the AUKUS agreement.